Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Nadex Morning Analysis. Today is December 9th. Before we jump into our session this morning, a quick intro. My name is Todd Rich. I am with Nadex. With me, I've got Brian Caprice from Keep Trading Simple, and I do need to share this quick disclaimer that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone, that any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And lastly, this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything we say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes only. All right, so Brian, I think today we're probably going to be doing a repeat performance. I love the flags.
I'm dialing in from the Brexit desk.
I like it. You flew over to Europe. That's the story of the day. We've got the Brexit deal is where the markets are moving. Everything else is relatively flat. But I would like to do a follow-up. Yesterday we covered the euro pound and the pound yen, and it's really kind of fitting. I think we need to discuss it again today because that's where the action is.
That's absolutely. So if you can switch over to the share screen. So again, I typically use this, Forex Factory guys to see where the movement is, and you can see in the overnight since yesterday, 105 pip movement in the pound yen. I'm sorry, the pound dollar, and 118 in the pound yen, and those are actually retracing a bit right now. Everything else, for the most part, minus the Aussie, and I'll mention that in a second, is flat. Euro dollar minus 2 pips in 24 hours. Dollar yen 7. Not a whole lot going on. Aussie actually had a new trade pact with Singapore that went into effect last night, which has provided a lot of kind of risk appetite over there. That's kind of a separate story, and I expect that to retrace as well. But for the most part, the story is the pound. 4 years of debating, thousands of hours of negotiation, and everything's coming down to a dinner. You guys are able to see it over here that the UK and the EU head to a supper showdown over Brexit. AP actually has the article out there. Now, both sides have been very positive. Johnson has been quoted in here that says, a good deal, there's still a possible way to get a good deal done. Angela Merkel has also said there's still a chance of an agreement. Again, Germany is a kind of a powerhouse over there, as far as, influences inside of the European Union. I haven't heard anything from France, and I know they were the last ones that were kind of throwing a monkey wrench into everything here. But right now, it looks like, again, I don't know. We'll see who is, picking the better menu, ordering the best wine. I don't know if they're doing drinks afterwards, getting some ports in, but it all comes down to a dinner. So I hope it's good. I hope there's no food poisoning. And it's kind of crazy. So jumping into charts, there's a couple things that again, let's follow up. Here's what we talked about yesterday. That we had buyers stepping in around the 90-40-ish area. We had saw that previously last time, when we saw the Brexit move, when we talked about the call spreads last week. We said if we could get a break at the 90-40, look for any type of basing in there, and you were able to see it. It's a little harder to see there, but you guys can see the basing level right here. We based right at that level. Again, telltale sign that we are going to continue to break through. We drove all the way down, and now we're bouncing off demand lower. All right, so right now you can see on this 30-minute chart and even on the hourly, this is quite a large area. After the last big drop, we based and again took off. There was a gap there. So this 89.90 has been an area on not only the euro pound, but the pound yen as far as kind of an area for reversal, and now it's taking off. So a lot of emotional move overnight. Yeah, the deal's going to get done today. We believe it. We believe it. We believe it. It's not done. It's coming down to dinner, and now we're seeing a bit of a retracement. So that's what we have in the euro pound. If you want to switch over real quick.
Let's jump over to the Nadex platform. Let me switch these around. There we go. And we're going to take a quick look at the euro pound and see what we got going on in Nadex markets. Here we've got those levels that you were mentioning again. We've got them on our chart. Let's extend this one a little further out because I do want to, let's zoom in a bit, make it a little easier to see. There we go. So, right, we're seeing a little bit of a retracement. I'm not sure if someone, if you thought this were going to continue its retrace a little bit. There is a knockout, a knockout that's relatively close. It looks like I moved my screen. I want to jump over to the call spreads where it might actually make a little bit more sense for the euro pound. So I'm going to take a look at the daily, and let's just take a look at what we've got over here. Move this out of the way. And let's click on some of these call spreads to see what these ranges are. I might have to give myself a little bit more space. And we might have to shrink it out some. There we go. All right, there we go. Yeah, it's this might be one of those ones where the call spreads currently are, and where the market's kind of moving. I mean, there is a call spread here that you could potentially could be interesting if you thought it was going to continue to retrace a little bit. The other way to play this would be jumping over to binaries, but I want to keep moving along. Let's talk about the pound yen. So let me flip it over to you because these were the two big stories. So
yeah, I mean, we've mentioned the last couple of days. We've mentioned the curve about where price was. I mentioned this area here yesterday, saying that great movement. I liked it, but the problem with this area here was the fact that it was just pushing us back into this top region of the curve here, right? And again, we are thinking bearish bias when we get up into this area, but although a great area, something as strong as Brexit and just pushing in there, I was a bit nervous. And again, we drove right through, so it was a good call there. Now, I mentioned being higher. The higher up we go into the curve, the more likely we are to kind of see rollovers, and that's what we're looking for. And as you can see, I mean, I'll drop it down to a 30-minute here. You can see this was also another area where we had a large extended move, again, meaning sellers came to the rescue, and that's what we drove up into. We kind of pushed up into this gap area, had to grind our way higher, and now we're seeing a rollover. And in fact, at this point, we're already up over a 2-to-1 off this reversal from that level, meaning that, again, a lot of the drive in the force going higher has been kind of exhausted when we hit that level. And again, the prior sellers stepped in and have started to push it down. Now, with that said, there's such a large extended range here. There will be some hiccups probably in this area because of all the wicks. But for the most part, I could see this kind of, with lack of any news right now, as everybody's waiting for dinner to happen, to bring this thing back down into maybe the 139.40-ish range. A drop of another, I don't know, maybe 60 pips in there. And again, fast up tends to be fast back down again, and that would put us from high in the curve back into the middle range again.
All right, so let's take a look at the pound yen now over on the Nadex platform. Let me flip over there. Here we go. And here I also threw on the Fibonacci just so we could take a look. We are watching that rollover happen. I mean, that was a level that you had pointed out a while back as a place where sellers do tend to step in. Mm-hmm. We are seeing that rollover here. Is there a knockout where you could potentially go on the short side? There is one in here that's actually kind of fitting it. Risk reward isn't too bad. Again, you're looking for that consolidation, maybe just a little bit lower. At which point, I mean, which would be all the way down here at that one. I think you were. Which should be that 50% Fibonacci level. I mean, that seemed to be a very big level early on. We know that it was a brief support in the sell-off. We know that became the resistance then as things started to revert back, and it continued to be resistance, that 50% Fibonacci level, until it broke through today. So as this thing rolls over, I would expect to see right in this 139.30-ish level for buyers to be stepping back in. So there's something to be considered here with the knockouts. I'm going to flip over to the call spreads again real quickly.
Yeah, there's actually a really nice call spread. It's a little bit deep into it right now, but based off of that level that I just pointed out, 140.42 would have been the top of my kind of risk level area. And there's actually a knockout up there at 140.45. So it was this is one of those situations where had you been watching a few hours ago or had you attended yesterday, you would have been able to catch that level and take that.
So and again, everything defined risk, defined reward. You've got to decide which one of these makes the most sense for you. Yeah. But it's nice that we do on our charts. If it were going to revert, you can find one where the floor of that knockout, if it comes back down in this range, it might be interesting to if you wanted to go long because you thought it was going to be some support. There's some knockouts in here that the knockouts. I'm sorry. The call spreads. I apologize. The call spreads seem to be really lining up well for the pound yen.
Yeah,
call
Yeah.
spreads are
Some
definitely
weeks
lining
they're
up
not
well.
there. This week they seem to be there a lot.
They're right there on these levels. So I would say, depending upon your opinion and your timing, take a look at the call spreads in the pound yen with everything that's happening, and certainly pay attention to what they're serving for dinner, both food and
Absolutely.
drink. I think that'll be
I don't
something
even,
that's
like I said, I
telling.
don't know what restaurant they're doing it at. They're probably not telling people, but I'm really curious to see what they had. And I'm sure somebody will say this. What is it they're eating?
Yeah, in the U.S., we would be so much more concerned about the food that they're eating and what their attire were. I think
Yeah.
over there, I think they're going to be actually speaking about substantive
I know. Like, I'm
measures.
wondering what is it that they're going to have? Is it going to be like a meal designed for royalty, or they get like fish and chips? Like what are they doing, right?
What are the yeah? So yeah, maybe that'll be an indicator on which way the talks are going to go.
Right? Yeah, yeah. When they have it over fish and chips and pints, it's positive. But when it's swan, or whatever, it doesn't bode well.
Perfect. I know that you mentioned just as we're heading out for this morning
I
to give
did.
people a chance. Let's talk a little bit about oil. I'll give
Sure.
you a chance just because I know
Yep.
you mentioned
Yeah,
yesterday.
I
That
said it
you wanted to
yesterday,
cover
and I want to be a man of my word. So again, we have oil inventory reports today at 10:30. The forecast has not changed. The supply is expected to go down by 0.9 million barrels. I mentioned seeing a lot of movement, and again, if we did not see movement in the European session, that those are typically good indicators of nice movement in our kind of trading zone. Well, this is what we had, and this is a 15-minute chart. And you can see this is pretty much around the European Open. There was a small level here on the 15-minute, and it basically drove down and gave us that kind of confirmation bounce, right? The hit, the base, the pull away base, and then pull back and went higher. Now, this is already completed. This 1 to 3 is already there. It went up to where it should have. I mean, if I had to draw a target on this, I would have my target right here. Oops, right there. And you can see that it's hit. Of these two levels right now, and again, this first level here is approximately around 46.12 on the top side. The bottom side's around 57.70. Either of these two levels would probably be decent if price is there at 10:30. It's an hour and 15 minutes away. We got some time before we're there, but it's those type levels that I'm typically looking for when I'm trading kind of the oil inventory kind of news trade. As far as again, I don't like to see this much movement, but it's there. If we're able to rally through that back up into that 46.40 before news, again, that could be another sign for me to kind of look for a rollover. But again, this is a lot of movement typically beforehand. It doesn't typically don't double dip that way, but it may be there. But I mentioned it yesterday, so I wanted to make sure we talked about it.
Terrific. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us this morning. Remember, we do this every morning. And be sure to go over to the YouTube channel on Nadex, set reminders so that you are ready to join us when we go live. If you have any questions for us, please email us, customerservice@nadex.com. If you got any questions for Brian, he is also accessible. You can email him at support@keeptradingsimple.com. With that, we're going to give you an opportunity to stretch your legs for what we've got 17 minutes before the equity markets open here in the States. And I want to wish everyone good luck in the markets. We'll catch you tomorrow. Thank you.
Take care.